Something that has frustrated me over the years is people talking about parasites on the raw vegan in the raw vegan community in the raw vegan world, and specifically trying to get rid of parasites from their body, and sometimes making an assumption that parasites within them are affecting their choices or poisoning them or making them eat certain things or whatever. And certain types of people seem to have a fascination, a paranoia, a uh, I'm not sure what the word is, fear maybe, worry of parasites. And I'd like to share with you my own perspective on it. And if you have any questions about anything that comes up in these videos, you can send me an email, info@fruitfest.co.uk. Info@fruitfest.co.uk is probably the best place to reach me. And if you're interested in coming to the festival as well, the UK Fruit Fest, you can reach me there as well. Now, what I've seen is people share pictures and say this is something that came out of me. They did a cleanse, a fast, a something, and this came out of me. And they share a picture sometimes, and it looks like a worm, right? And or essentially, when I say it looks like a worm, it looks like a long strand tube like thing. There's a number of people who have personal testimonials of saying that they believe they saw a worm come out of them. There was something wriggling in the toilet. All these things. Most of this I don't believe. Most of this I don't think is accurate. Some of you might have had these experiences. I don't personally think that there's a lot to these things. Um, so the way I look at this is, where does all this come from? Where does all the talk about parasites come from? I've probably got a story or two to share about this as well. And I want to share with you that my perspective on all this comes from my own personal journey of 11, 12 years with the raw vegan diet and the raw vegan community. Uh, Having been to events around the world, having set up events, having met hundreds, thousands of people, interviewed over 130 people, um, met many of the teachers, leaders, long-term experts in this diet, and I have that. So I have a perspective, my own personal experience, what I've heard from others, and so on. And this parasites thing is not this common thread that I seem to hear from people who have been doing this diet long term and who have done fasting and things like that. So where is it coming from? Well, firstly, I totally believe that human beings have a inbuilt fear of parasites. As a primate, I think that's probably quite normal, or really as any kind of mammal, I suppose. We have, we're vulnerable to parasites, and human beings living in a more natural environment without access to medical care and things like that, and without a food supply that is more regulated and checked and so on, often have parasites in their bodies. And going back into human history, it seems it's quite common that people had parasites. And I saw an interesting video one time that was an idea that potentially people in the past actually were protected from certain diseases and certain problems because of parasites um, in their bodies, and that maybe we evolved with some of these parasites. Now, when I'm talking about parasites, I'm not talking about bacteria. I'm not talking about like microscopic tiny things. I'm generally talking about people having a belief that they've got things that you can see with your eyes, like worms. And that's a real thing. I'm not an expert in this stuff, but there are tapeworms, and animals have tapeworms inside them, and I'm sure there's various types and so on. And the eggs of these worms are maybe in feces or other things, or maybe they're laid in food or whatever, and it gets into people's bodies. Can this happen to human beings in the modern world? Yeah, it can. It can happen. And what's the best solution if you do believe you've got like parasites like that, like worms inside you? Go to a doctor. Medical help, medicine, pharmaceutical. That's what you need, right? You don't go to raw food, a raw foodist person. That's something that the medical authorities, the medical approach has an answer to. We have answers now to parasites. If people have parasites inside them, there's tapeworms, but there's also other things. We have answers to a lot of these things now. I'd also say as well that if a person legitimately had parasites, there tends to be symptoms. From what I understand, people start to lose weight. If you've got tapeworms, I mean, you're losing weight and you're not able to keep your weight on and stuff. And people think they've got parasites, they don't have these symptoms. You get medical care for that. You get medical help. You take medicine. That's what you do for these situations. But a lot of people in the raw food world have have this paranoia about medical, pharmaceutical, and all that. So they go and they want to try a cleanse or a detox, or what food should I eat to get these parasites out that they probably don't have, but they believe they have. Um, it's a paranoia thing. It's a fear thing. It's an anxiety thing. It's all of that f- for me. Um, it's also probably a lack of calories thing, because sometimes when people undereat on calories, they start to feel wrong. They feel there's something up with them and they can't figure out why. And it's just like they're not eating enough food, but they feel like there's something wrong with them. Lack of calories is really bad. Actually, people start to have all sorts of weird feelings. So, where does this all? Why is this so promoted as an idea? It's another thing that is exploited for selling products. It's exploited for herbs, for cleanses, and maybe people helping people, like coaching people through these things. And I personally don't like it. It's a weird energy about all that stuff. It's all paranoia, fear, weird stuff. You should have fear in life. Maybe you should be a bit paranoid in life, but you should fear obesity. That's not a good thing. You should fear heart disease, cancer, diabetes. These are things you should fear, and that should make you want to eat a healthier diet so that you don't suffer from these things. So you take action. But parasites, you go to the doctor, and in the modern world, your chance of having parasites and stuff, really very low, pretty low. Um, and people think these parasites are like getting into the tissues all over their body. How are these things living? What are they living on? The idea of a tapeworm is it lives in your intestines, it lives on the food that's coming in. So it actually has something to live off. But what's it? They bury their way into into your muscles, into your this, into that. I don't know. Maybe I'm naive about this. Maybe I don't understand all this. But I think most of the time, a lot of this is not right. I have heard of parasites in pork that can get into people's brains and things like that. There's certain, so all that's bad. Um, but I don't think any raw food cleanse is going to help with any of that, or any fast, or any set of herbs. It's to me, it's just a wrong-minded thing. I don't know. I don't even know what to call it. When I hear people talking about that, as soon as I hear that word come up, if I'm talking with people in about events and things about raw food stuff, and then someone goes, "Yeah, and you need to get out the parasites," I just immediately know this person is on the wrong page. They are looking at this the wrong way. This is they've been influenced by someone that probably doesn't know what they're talking about. That's probably got some kind of a that probably goes back to someone selling a product, a cleanse or a set of herbs that are meant to like root out parasites. It's it's all bad, you know. And this whole thing of I'm trying to get everything out, trying to clean myself, and trying to blah blah blah. A lot of it comes from the wrong place. A lot of it just comes from the wrong place for me. So my overall opinion on parasites, it's a natural human fear that we have. Obviously, it can happen. It has happened in the past more frequently. It happens in a natural environment. It happens to animals on, in nature all the time. And we are vulnerable to it, and we should have a fear or a worry of it. It's partly why we check our food and we open our food and check it and things like that. We don't want parasites getting into us. But generally, in our modern world, it's not that big an issue. If it is an issue, if it's something that did happen to you legitimately, you should get medical help. You should not try and do a cleanse or a fast. In fact, there's no reason why, if you have certain parasites in you, why would a cleanse or a fast make any difference to them? You're still in your body, you're still going to be creating, you're still going to be using your body fat to make fuel. And maybe some of these parasites are assuming might just be, if they're in your blood, or if they're in wherever you think they are, why aren't they just living off, you know, well, I guess what am I trying to say? You think you're starving them out, but I don't know. And if you're going to use herbs, you're using it because they're toxic. Just use them medicinal. It's way better. Just use medical. Oh, but I want to use a natural. Why? It's toxic. It's bad. It's like you might as well use the one that is specifically designed for the process, for the task. Um, so I don't think about parasites. I don't. Most of the things that people have claimed they've had parasites come out of them, I don't believe most of that. I don't think most of it's correct. Another thing is that people can have those, sometimes the worms that people claim have come out of them. There's sections of intestinal lining that can come out in worm-like sections. There'll be like types of food that come out in worm-like sections if they're not digested properly, or if they're digested in a certain way. And the fact that people want to believe these worms are coming out so much means that they'll start to say, "Oh yeah, I saw it wriggling around. It looked up at me and said, and waved at me." I think avoid all this. Avoid these cleanses. Avoid people that claim that, and go towards a healthier diet and improve your diet over time, and focus on that, and focus on using your diet to help you, get out into the world and exercise and do things and be active and be out there, and not being at home getting paranoid about parasites and investigating cleanses and all that kind of stuff. Well, thank you for joining me today. If you want any more information, you can subscribe to this channel and watch more videos. You can send me an email, info@fruitfest.co.uk, if you want more information about anything really, but especially if you're interested in the festival, the UK Fruit Fest, um, or any other support you're needing. Anyway, thank you very much.